Hey Chris, I wanted to do a website audit for my tag team. Um, Currently, you've got a 63% rating. This doesn't really cover audit, doesn't really cover design. Um, it just goes over just the basic structure and how it appears to Google search results. So let's just go through the title tag here. This is what will show up on search engine results. What I noticed here is that you have 105 characters. The recommended amount is about 10 to 70, and anything more than that is going to get cut off. So I also noticed that costume instead of custom, that's an easy thing to correct. What I also recommended is that you edit this down with something like, if it's important to you to add in the length of time, you can say something like 10 years of experience in custom t-shirts. So your keyword probably would be custom t-shirts, I imagine, even though we'll talk about that later. But that cuts down the number of characters, still gets the message across that you want. I perhaps add in the word Orlando, just so it helps location-based search results. Okay, meta description. Again, this is, think of this, Google doesn't really use this as a um, search engine type recognition, but it does show up in search engine results, and you should look at this as an opportunity to further advertise what you do. And it can be between 70 and 160 characters. So currently you have nothing, and I recommend that you put something in there. That could be done in the back end of the website. Notice you don't have any keywords, or no keywords were detected. Um, Again, that can be done in the back end of the website or in the website setup, and you can just type in your keywords, which for you would be things like custom T-shirts, Christian T-shirts, things that are specific to your industry. And then don't forget about the long tail keywords. I mean, everybody um, focuses on the one or two word keywords, but there's tons and tons of competition. You use the example of auto insurance. There's tons of competition for that, but maybe there's not as much competition for uh, the best auto insurance price in Orlando. Um, that would increase your chances of, just a silly example to show you, increase your chances of showing up when people do um, longer keyword searches. All right, let's move on to headings. Okay, so this is basically how Google sees the structure of your website. There should, H1 is just the most important heading, and you should only have one H1 on your page, not two. Um, Again, you can see this is important to to search engine optimization, and it's something simple. Someone in the back end can just go in and change this from H1 to H2. So you should only have one H1 at any given time, and it just helps Google understand what's the most important text on the page, what's the next most important, what's the next most important, and so on. Okay, so this is just an example of what people will see when they type in your specific search results, and you can see it's cut off, um, and we talked about that up earlier. Okay, all attributes. These are basically the images on you have 26 images on this particular web page or home page, but two of them are missing a description. All attributes were originally put in for those who are vision impaired, so that if Google were reading a website to someone, they could see what the images said. Google cannot currently scan an image and understand what its relevancy is. So you can add a description, and preferably you'd add a description of either product name in your case, or a keyword. So the more keywords you have listed on your page, the easier it is for Google to understand what your page is about. And that's basically the most simple thing when it comes to Google search results, is you have to remember that Google scans your page with bots and tries to understand what your page is about based on the evidence that you've left. and the more words you have that are related to your business, the more it will match it up to search results. So here's another good indication. Here are the um, words that are uh, found on this particular page in order to, of in order to frequency. Obviously, it's in. So I would recommend if your main keyword was custom T-shirts or Christian T-shirts, then that should show up in the body of the text on your page, and preferably as a H2 or 3 title, so it shows Google that it's not just a keyword, but it's a more important keyword because it has a heading assigned to it. Text to HTML ratio. This is important because the more actual text there is on a page, the easier it is for Google to understand what your page is about. However, if your page is just only text-based, it's going to appear very boring and not going to have a great user experience. So Google has come up with what they consider like an HTML or image or code to text ratio. And I think with yours, it is a challenge because you're a heavily visual based website. You want to show your product, but it also gives you an opportunity to add a little bit more product description text on your page so that you can increase this up. Again, 25% is the Google recommended minimum, although many websites have a challenge to get there. And you can see this is fairly important on the scale of SEO importance. These are just some of the things that you checked off fine. This is just something that can be done in the back end of your web. It's not crucially important, and it's fairly easy to solve. So here are your in-page links. So basically where on one of your websites you're linking to another page. And Google sees that as a sign that you're a legitimate website. However, what you really want is more external links. That shows that if other people are mentioning you on their websites, then that adds strength to your authority that you're a legitimate website. So you can see you've got your own Instagram account. So some easy things, external links are Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. But then there's some other what they call citations that you can get listed on Yellow Pages, Bing, things that Yelp, things that you don't necessarily have to maintain, but just put a listing on helps strengthen that message to Google that you're a legitimate website. There's no broken links. That means you're not linking to a site or a page that is broken. Like let's say, for example, you had a page that linked to a website that is no longer has been deleted. Because of course Google, if you have a bunch of broken links on the page, Google may consider that as a sign that you're not a legitimate website. So you have an XML. These are things that just make it easier for Google to understand your page. This tells us how long the domain's been registered. And with GoDaddy. Again, mobile friendly is very important because we're living in a world where especially your customers will be perhaps looking at your website online, and you have a good mobile friendly rating. Although this is just a sample of a mobile thing. You actually have a good one, but sometimes people will have their clickable buttons that are so small because they're trying to maximize as much information on one page that it makes it hard for the average finger or thumb to click on it. Okay. Favicon is just, and you have one. It's just up here when it shows up. This little thing right here when you type in. So that's your little image for your site. Okay, this is just obviously not registered to you, but in case, especially this is important for like larger websites who, if you accidentally typed in the incorrect name, if they purchase that site, it will automatically redirect to your site. So you cover and a lot of people use this in a scam way because they'll put a famous um, like Google instead of Google. They'll buy that domain so that if someone types it in, it'll take them to their site and increase their page views. Well, that's what it talks about typo availability here. Your email has been found on the site. Um, there's your business that obviously wants people to contact you. Although if you have your email address easy to find, it makes junk mail easy to be sent to you. You can get around this by actually having a contact form that kind of hides or buries your takes the information on the contact form. It also will add more words to your site, which I think is a weakness that you currently have. Um, so you may want to consider that. Still getting contact information for business inquiries, for orders, but it doesn't necessarily. And you can talk to your web developer about putting in a contact form as opposed to just a clickable email link. Just talking about speed tips, obviously Google penalizes websites that are a little slower to read, and obviously statistically, there's been studies done that people, if they have to wait for a second more for something to page to download, they could easily click away. So it has a real world example, but also Google will and we're talking milliseconds here. Um, and these are just again some back end things that can be improved um, with resizing any of the images, making sure that the images on your site are um, still high quality. And you can use, I have a piece of software on my computer that will resize the image down by 70% without affecting the quality. So that's something to consider. You don't have any analytics tools. So if you have like a little code on your site that's not visible to viewers, but has the Google Analytics website, then you can tell what countries your viewers are coming from, how long they're staying on sites, on pages, which are your most popular pages, so that you can put out more content like that. Maybe people aren't necessarily going clicking through and buying something, but maybe you have a page that has a certain type of T-shirt that is more popular, and that just lets you know, other than just a gut feeling. Okay, this down here tells me that currently there isn't any recognition that Google has indexed your website, this particular homepage, um, and it says you have zero backlinks. And I'm assuming these are excluding your normal social media backlinks, and this can be done by getting citations. This just lists again. Google actually gives you an extra little point for social media references on your page. You can see it just says it doesn't really have Facebook, Twitter. You may not necessarily want to advertise on those or set those up, and that's understandable. But these are just other opportunities for you to increase your score. So just a general estimated worth of your website if you were going to sell it. I'm talking about your website, not your business. And then there's no data available on whether who's visited from different countries. So that's just an example of an SEO. I'm going to try and download the PDF to send for you too as well, but I wanted to make this video so that you could understand just some improvements that can be made to your site. Design-wise, doesn't really cover design-wise because but design sometimes does affect page load speeds, the more higher quality, and sometimes you may have to sacrifice some design preferences over page functionality. So again, when it comes to this type of website audit, for me, SEO for the layperson, for me, it's just easier to make sure to use this audit to make sure that you're not making simple mistakes that are actually penalizing, and it may be only just minor penalization points, but not penalizing your web page from ranking a little bit higher. Gone are the days where You can put out a website, optimize it for SEO, and within 4 weeks you're ranking #1 on the internet. There's just so much competition. The algorithm changes. They don't tell you what is the ranking um, priorities are. But there's some obvious common sense ones. Is design, functionality, and just making sure that you're not making um, mistakes that can be easily corrected. And that's the purpose of my audit. Thanks.